Welcome to another class of fed batch fermenter. This is the first class on fed batch fermenter. This is a type of fermentation which is intermediate of both batch and continuous fermenters. So you have already dealt with batch and we have to study about continuous. So before that, we shall see how the fed batch fermenter works. So fed batch culture is also called as semi-closed system of cultivation or semi-open system of cultivation. So whereas in batch culture, you learned that they are closed system of cultivation, whereas your continuous culture is an open system of cultivation. In this technique, at first, nutrient media is prepared and it is inoculated with culture organism and then it is incubated for a particular time. So first you prepare your nutrient media and inoculate the microorganism which you wish to inoculate, and then you incubate it in the fermenter for a particular time. During the course of incubation, a particular nutrient is added at intervals without removing the used up media. So the volume of the culture increases continuously. So when you are incubating, a particular nutrient is added at intervals or in an increment, that is slowly, at one at a time in sequence you keep adding, okay, like 5 minutes or 10 minutes, for example, 30 minutes. So during the course of incubation, particular nutrient is added at intervals without removing the used up media. So you add your nutrients at a particular interval, but do not remove the media. So the volume of the culture increases continuously. So what happens? So if this is your fermenter and this is your microorganism and nutrient, and you're adding your nutrients again at a particular interval of time, what happens? The volume increases. The first the volume was here and now the volume is here. Why this happens? Because you're just adding your nutrients, but you're not removing anything which is present in the fed batch. In fermentation, some nutrients is very essential for the process, but when these nutrients are provided in higher concentration in the culture, they inhibit the growth of bacteria, ultimately ceasing the fermentation. So this is why we are using the nutrient at a particular interval of the time. Because in some of the fermentation, the nutrients is very essential for the process to occur. But when you provide these nutrients at higher concentration in the culture, what they do is they try to inhibit the growth of the bacteria, ultimately ceasing the fermentation. So no fermentation is occurring. Why? Because your higher concentration of nutrient is inhibiting the bacteria and ceasing the fermentation. So this should not happen. That is why we are using the fed batch culture, wherein a particular nutrient which is useful for the growth of the organism to provide the final product, we are adding it in the intervals. Therefore, such nutrients are kept in lower concentration. So if you know that particular nutrient is going to interfere with your microorganism and will be toxic to your microorganism or the product, then what you have to do is you lower the concentration. We cannot remove the concentration because that nutrient is required for the microorganism. Okay. Therefore, in such nutrients are kept in lower concentration initially and it is added slowly and continuously during the course of fermentation. So controlled feed results in higher biomass and product yield. This is what is most important in the fed batch. So you are providing your feed in a controlled manner which can increase the biomass and the product. Next, we shall go for the substrate inhibition. In some of the fermenter, what happens is there is an inhibition of the substrate. So what is the alternative for this? See, the nutrients such as methanol, ethanol, acetic acid, and aromatic compounds inhibit the growth of microorganisms. So these are all inhibiting the growth of your microorganism even at relatively low concentrations. By adding such substrate properly at the lag time can be shortened and the inhibition of the cell growth is markedly reduced. So these nutrients, even though they are present at low concentration, they can inhibit the growth of your microorganisms. So what is an alternative which is present is by adding such substrate properly at the lag time. Okay, so if this is your graph, this is your lag time, okay, and then it increases to the log phase. So the lag time can be shortened and the inhibition of the cell growth can be markedly reduced. High cell density concentration. In a batch culture, to achieve very high cell concentration, example 50 to 100 gram of dry cells per liter, high initial concentration of the nutrient in the media are needed. So to achieve a 50 to 100 gram of dry cells per liter, high initial concentration of the nutrients in the media are needed. At such high concentration, the nutrients become inhibitory. That is, you need the nutrients. You have to add the nutrients. But what is happening? The nutrients are becoming inhibitory, even though they have no such effect at the normal concentration used in batch culture. It means to tell that whatever the concentration you're using in the batch culture, that is normal. Okay, it is not causing any inhibitory effect in the batch culture. But what is happening if you want a higher concentration using the same nutrients, you need a higher concentration, then the problem arises. That is, high initial concentration of nutrients in the medium are needed. At such high concentration, the nutrients become inhibitory. So in that conditions, you can go for the fed batch reactors. Then we have the glucose effect, or it is known as the Crabtree effect. Be careful of this question. It is important for your GATE exams and other competitive DBT exams. So what do you mean by this Crab effect or glucose effect is, here the yeast produces, you know that the yeast produces the ethanol. Under which condition it is producing? It is producing in the aerobic condition. Okay. So how does the yeast produce the ethanol? In the presence of sugar? But here it is the aerobic condition. And that is called as the glucose effect or the Crab effect. So here you can see in the production of the baker's yeast from the malt wort or molasses. Okay, this is the product of the sugar cane waste. It has been recognized that ethanol is produced even in the presence of sufficient dissolved oxygen if an excess of sugar is present in the culture media. So if you have sufficient amount of dissolved oxygen also and excess of sugar is present in the culture media, and if your baker's yeast is present, what happens? Ethanol is produced. So the important point here is ethanol is the main cause of low cell yield. The aerobic ethanol formation in the presence of glucose concentration is known as glucose effect or Crab effect. So this point you have to remember. Aerobic ethanol formation in the presence of glucose concentration is known as glucose effect or Crabtree effect. To reduce this effect, fed batch processes are generally employed for the baker's yeast production, so that you can add in your sugar in an increment manner. At particular intervals you can add. So similarly, in aerobic culture of Escherichia coli and Bacillus subtilis, organic acids such as acetic acid, okay, or your lactic acid and formic acid are produced as byproducts when sugar concentration is high. And these acids inhibit the cell growth as well as show deteriorating effect on the metabolic activity. The formation of these acids are called as bacterial Crabtree effect. So here also, these organisms as mentioned, E. coli and Bacillus, they produce what? Organic acids. So these organic acids are commercially important, economically important for us. Okay. And what are these? This can be your acetic acid or lactic acid or formic acid or even your citric acid are produced as a byproduct when the sugar concentration is high. That is, your substrate is what? Your sugar. Look, what is happening? The concentration of the sugar is very high. And what acts on the sugar? It is your yeast or your Saccharomyces cerevisiae. What does it produce? It is producing all this, Saccharomyces cerevisiae in the case of ethanol, whereas here it can be other bacteria. So what is happening? You're getting the product. Okay. But what is happening? These acids are inhibiting the cell growth of your organism. That shouldn't happen. They should not inhibit the cell growth. What happens otherwise if they're inhibiting the cell growth? There is a deteriorating effect on your metabolic activity. So the metabolism, what we say, any reaction, whether it is an anabolic or catabolic reaction, what happens? It is catalyzed by a series of steps, right? And if one of the pathway is inhibited, it can have an deleterious effect on your end product. So the formation of these acids are called as bacterial Crabtree effects because they are produced under the aerobic cultures and they are inhibiting your product. The other is the catabolite repression. So catabolite repression means it is suppressing. What is catabolite? So you have in your metabolism, anabolism and catabolism. In catabolism, what is happening? Whatever the food you consume, it is broken down into smaller components. And what is the most important of your catabolism? The production of ATP, right? I am eating food because what? I want ATP, I want energy. Similarly, what is happening in your microorganism is also same. When a microorganism is provided with a rapidly metabolizing carbon energy source such as glucose, the resulting increase in the intercellular concentration of ATP leads to the representation of the enzyme biosynthesis. So your catabolism has produced ATP, but what is your ATP doing? It leads to the representation of the enzyme biosynthesis, thus causing a slower metabolization of the energy source. So this phenomena is known as a catabolite repression. That is, your ATP leads to the repression of the enzyme, or it is suppressing the enzyme. So many enzymes, especially those involved in catabolic pathways, are subject to this repressive regulation. A powerful method of overcoming the catabolic repression in the enzyme biosynthesis is again the fed batch culture, in which glucose concentration in the culture liquid is kept low. You keep your glucose concentration low. So what happens? Ultimately, if you go to your glycolysis, what do you see? The glucose is broken down into the 2 molecules of 3-carbon pyruvic acid. That is what is happening even in your microorganism and even in the humans, right? So you keep the glucose concentration less, where the growth is restricted and the enzyme biosynthesis is depressed. So slowly feeding of glucose can avoid this catabolite repression. So slow feeding of glucose in penicillin fermentation by Penicillium chrysogenum is a classical example in this category. So the penicillin production usually happens in the fed batch system because this penicillium can undergo catabolic representation. So if you put it into a fed batch and reduce your substrate concentration, not reducing, that is you're adding at a particular intervals of time, then this type of catabolite representation can be stopped. Coming to the auxotrophic mutants, What do you mean by auxotrophic mutants? See, the very word mutants is that is it is different from the wild type. So auxotrophic mutants means they are nutritionally requiring mutant. That is, any one of the nutrient is deficient in these organisms. That is called as auxotrophic mutants. So excess supply. Now what happens? That is, you have to supply the nutrients to these organisms because they can't. Their body cannot produce. Whereas the wild mutants, they can produce all their amino acid. But auxotrophic mutants, the very word mutant says that some changes happen that one particular amino acid cannot be synthesized by these guys. In a microbial process employing an auxotrophic nutrients, excess supply of required nutrients resulted in abundant cell growth with little accumulation of desired metabolite due to feedback inhibition. So what happened is when we took this auxotrophic nutrient, we supplied it with the nutrients what that microorganism required. So that microorganism grew well. Okay, that was abundant cell growth. Well, little accumulation of desired metabolite. But what happened to the desired metabolite? It was very less. Why? This was because of the feedback inhibition or the end product repression. That is, what happens is your products are being formed. Your products itself will have act as a feedback inhibition. They can inhibit any of the flow of the enzyme. And then what you get, the end product, your metabolite is very less. So what you'll do, will you starve your organism? If you starve your organism, what will happen? Starvation of the required nutrient, however, lower the cell growth as well as overall production of the desired metabolite. Then, if you're starving your organism, the problem is the cell will not grow. And also the overall production of your desired metabolite also will not be to the up to the mark. So in these cases, what we can do is the accumulation of the desired metabolite can be maximized by growing the mutant in limited amount of the required nutrient. See here, everywhere we are seeing this word, limited amount of required nutrient. So if I want my metabolite, if I want my auxotrophic mutants to produce that metabolite, I will provide the microorganism with limited amount of the required nutrient at an increment time. Okay, at limited intervals. As I told you, 10 minutes, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, I'll provide you the nutrients and you provide me the end product. To cultivate the mutant on the low concentration of required nutrient, it is fed to the batch culture at controlled rate. So you are providing limited amount of the required nutrients at the controlled rate. So this technique is often used in the industrial amino acid production with auxotrophic mutants. So here what happens in industrially when you're producing these amino acid by using auxotrophic mutants, I told you auxotrophic mutants are, they are deficient in any particular amino acid. For example, here you see Corynebacterium glutamicum being lacking the for homoserine dehydrogenase. So it doesn't have that enzyme homoserine dehydrogenase gene. So it is unable to produce by de novo the homoserine. It cannot produce because the gene itself is not there. So what you provide that homoserine or threonine. Okay, then what will happen? The microorganism will consume the homoserine or threonine and it will produce the requisite amino acid. That is about the auxotrophic mutants. So remember students, auxotrophic mutants are different from the wild type. That is one or two nutrient is unavailable to them. They cannot synthesize by themselves because they don't have the genes. They have been mutated. So you provide the nutrition. So they can consume the nutrition and they provide you the metabolites, whatever you want. And next, coming to the expression control of gene with a repressible promoter. So when a specified chemical compound exists in the culture liquid, the compound in the cell combines as a co-repressor with an apo-repressor. So what is there? You have provided a chemical compound which is present in the culture liquid. This is what it is, a compound or it is a metabolite in the cell. What it does, it combines the co-repressor with an apo-repressor. What are these co-repressor and apo-repressor? They are transcriptional factors. So this co-repressor and apo-repressor, which are formed by the chemical compound that is present in the culture liquid, they form what? They form the holorepressor. Okay, keeping the concentration of this compound as low as possible permits continued expression of the regulated gene. That is, what to say is, whenever there is an holorepressor, what they do is they can go here to the promoter in the upstream of your reading phase and they can inhibit that promoter. Right? So this chemical compound which is present in your culture liquid, they form a holorepressor which will go and inhibit the promoter in the upstream of the open reading frame. So what you do is, in order to avoid this, keeping the concentration of this compound as low as possible. So this guide, because of you only know this is happening. So what will I do? I will lower your concentration. So the concentration of this compound is low as possible, permits continued expression of the regulated gene. Now these fellows cannot act as a inhibitor to the promoter because their concentration is very less. So it permits the expression of the regulated gene. That is, it allows the promoter to express the gene. So fed batch culture is a powerful technique to do so. Example of this is the tryptophan promoter and 4A promoter. So what are the advantages of fed batch system? Now, as we have seen 6 examples, you know that really these are up to mark fed batch fermenter, where your batch fermenters and continuous fermenters in certain cases can fail. That time fed batch can come into your rescue. They produce higher yields resulting from well-defined cultivation period during which no cells are added or removed. I showed you that. You are not going to remove any cells. You are just going to add it in a particular increment your nutrients and you're not going to remove anything. Increase opportunity for optimizing environmental condition of the microorganism in regard to the phase of growth of production and age of the culture. So you can optimize because you are adding the nutrients, right? So you can optimize the environmental condition of your microorganisms. As we told that we reduce the lag phase of one of the organism. So in this phase, we can control the age of the culture. Nearly stationary operation important with slightly mutating microorganisms and those at risk for contamination. So if there is a mutated microorganism or microorganisms which can lead to contamination can be brought under control by using the fed batch systems. Production of high cell density due to extension of working time. This is another advantage, particularly important in the production of growth associated product. Control condition in the provision of substrate during the fermentation, particularly regarding to the concentration of specific substrate, example carbon source. So you are controlling what? Your carbon source. Okay. So we saw even in the crab effect also, the carbon source, we had to control it. Control over the production of byproducts or catabolytic representation effect due to limited provision of the substrates solely required for the product formation. The mode of operation can overcome and control deviation in the organism growth pattern as found in the batch fermentation. Allows replacement of water loss by evaporation. Alternative mode of operation for fermentation leading to toxic substrates or low solubility compounds. No additional special piece of equipment is required as compared with the batch fermentation mode of operation. So these are all the advantages of fed batch. Okay, I'm not explaining each of the advantages because already we have spoken about all this, right? Coming to the disadvantages, it requires previous analysis of the microorganism, its requirement and understanding of the physiology with the productivity. Obviously, when you are doing any fermentation technology, you should completely know about the microorganism, physiology of the microorganism. You should know that what is the microorganism which I should use to produce a product S, or I should also know the complete nutritional requirement of that microorganism. And I should see that the microorganisms or the substrate or the product do not cause any toxicity. It requires substantial amount of operator skill for setup, definition, development of the process. So you know that when we started with the batch culture and now the fed batch culture, you know the difficulties, how much we are facing. That is, a skilled operator should be there to operate the instrument, who should know the thorough knowledge of the operating the fermenter. So that can be a disadvantage if you don't find a skilled operator. In a cyclic fed batch culture, care should be taken in the design of the process to ensure that the toxins do not accumulate to the inhibitory level and the nutrients other than those incorporated in the feed media become limiting. Also, if many cycles are run, accumulation of non-producing or low-producing variants may be result. You have to be very careful to see there is no accumulation of the inhibitory levels of the nutrients, because all throughout we saw that the nutrients are acting as an enemy there. So that is why what we are doing, we are not adding the complete nutrients, we are adding the nutrients in the interval of times. So this you should take a lot of precautions. The quantity of the components to control must be above the detection limits of the available measuring equipment. Lower productivity level due to time for filling, heating, sterilizing, cooling, emitting, and cleaning the reactor. We also saw this because you are what you're doing is you are filling everything, waiting until your product is formed, and afterwards, what you're doing, you have to clean, sterilize, clean all the pipes, and look at the amount of time which is consuming, and it is a labor cost, right? You require more labors for doing such type of things, or dynamic process control for the process. Now, I told you most of the fermenters are integrated with the computer, and the operator should know all the dynamics, all the kinetics which are going inside the fermenter. That is, by sitting outside, he has to control what is the reaction which is going in the fermenter. So these are some of the disadvantages if you're not having a skilled person. And I also told you that in the batch culture also, you will be having definite protocols and you have to follow the protocols, and it should be shown to the supervisor, and the supervisor also should go through the protocols whether everything is being done correctly, and it should be signed. If this is not done properly, because we are doing this fermentation in the large scale,